Welcome back to I Now Pronounce You Divorce. Today, we have a guest who came back. Danielle, you want to remind everybody what you do and how our Family Wizard can really help people through these challenging times?
Yes, I am a family law attorney who no longer practices, and I work for the co parenting application OurFamilyWizard. It's a co parenting platform that allows for parents living separately, or sometimes it's not always parents, it might be grandparent or whatever, but the people who are caring for the child to stay organized and to have easy documentation so that they know exactly what happens between them in terms of all of their communication, their scheduling of events, calendaring, expenses, and the like. And it has a lot of tools also to help parties move forward in a better way and set them up for success and ultimately benefit the children.
And when you're talking about the platform, Our Family Wizard, I know, I'm sure as a practicing attorney, you remember you're trying to tell people, like, hey, everything you put in writing matters. But
Right.
this really helps reduce conflict by almost forcing people to put it in writing, right?
Exactly. It really can help folks to move forward in a better way because not only are they putting everything in writing and all their communication has to be in one spot, but they do know that they're not able to alter or delete any of that communication. So everything that they communicate to their co-parent or other party is something that can be seen by a judge if needed. And in any case, there's a clear record that can't be altered or deleted. So it really is able to encourage folks to move forward in a better way, knowing that everything that is being communicated is on the record.
That's so important, especially as we enter the holiday season, which is crazy to think that that's just upon us. But with having everything in writing and trying to navigate maybe some visitation or custody issues, what other challenges do you see as clients start going through this holiday season and as it's starting to come upon us?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple major ones that our family wizard is able to help folks with. One being heightened emotions and things like that around the holiday. And another is just changes to schedules and things like that. So, with the calendar within our family wizard, it's a tool that can help folks to stay organized when the holidays are coming up because not only will they have all their holidays put in the calendar on our family wizard, which would override their ordinary parenting time and give them a clear visual picture of which holidays they'll have the child for this year, next year, and for years to come. But also, there's a tool within the calendar that's a schedule change request. That is a tool that they can easily use at holiday time. For example, if something comes up and they want to make a request, maybe extended families coming in who hadn't planned it and they want to switch things up, and then again, everything is documented. The other party gets the request for that change. And there's a clear record of when the request was made, why the request is being made, if the other party accepted it. So they've got these tools to help them stay organized. And of course, they can also enter all their events. If they have kids having holiday things at school, they want to let the other party know about it. There's a clear record again. Did they put the holiday party on for school 10 minutes before it started? That's not a realistic way for the other party to be able to get there. Or did they put it on 2 weeks before that event? And then getting back to the emotional piece, of course, a lot of times people are having both good and bad emotions, but at holiday time, especially if it's the first year or it's only been a couple years or now there's a new partner involved, all these kinds of things, it can really heighten emotions around the holiday time. And with the new tool that we have within our Family Wizard messaging, not only do we have tone meter, which we've had for quite a while in terms of helping folks to see that what they're writing might be perceived in a negative way when they might be having an emotional reaction. We now also have tone meter AI, which can help them in the holiday time at any time, but in holiday time, especially again, when emotions are heightened, it not only tells them that what they're writing might be perceived in a negative way, but they have the option to ask for a suggestion. The suggestion is going to give them something that they could write instead that is not only more cordial, but also more concise. So, really getting to the point of what is needed and try to leave all that extra emotion out of it.
Yeah, I have so many clients I wish had that meter because even though what they write is factually true, it just comes across so angry sometimes. Uh,
Exactly. And sometimes folks don't even realize
mm,
how bad it might, be perceived by someone else.
yes. As you're talking about, making plans and using calendars, what are some of the proactive steps co-parents can take during the holidays to lower the stress and really focus back in on their children?
Yeah, I think ideally, obviously, would be to set up the holiday schedule well in advance, according to whatever their agreement or order is, but to have that in there even for years to come. Some folks really like to plan. They want to know this year I'm going to have the kids on Christmas, next year the other party's going to have them on Christmas, be able to plan things with with extended family and things like that. So I'd say, of course, always having it as far in advance as possible, and then always letting the other party know of anything that comes up as far in advance as possible. So putting those extra events on the calendar and things like that. So there's a lot of time for them to communicate, and it's not in the heat of the moment. Anything that's last minute is more stressful for parents. And that is especially true at holiday time. So if they're able to have a clear idea of what their parenting time is going to look like in the holidays, it really helps. Because I know there would be situations where, they didn't use a tool like Our Family Wizard, and so they are looking at their agreement or order, and they've got a discrepancy in their mind about who's getting the kids when, because they're not sure, whether this holiday time overrides the fact that they're only allowed to have 10 consecutive days without seeing the child. Like, there's all different kinds of provisions that could be in an agreement or order. If you have that in a visual calendar that you're both looking at, far in advance what it's like. So then you can try to work out any issues that there might be well in advance, not at the last minute when everyone's upset and, freaking out, to be honest.
You raised a good point, because these parenting plans, they can just be all over the place, and they can be very complex and even sometimes convoluted. How does using Our Family Wizard, either the tools or the calendar or the message board, help parents navigate other complex schedules outside of the actual parenting plan itself?
To navigate what? I'm sorry.
Complex schedules that parents have, whether it's changing work schedules, or if they have to be out of town, or if they have other, let's say, other children not part of the current relationship that they have to manage their visitation schedules too.
Yeah. One of the helpful aspects is that they can have multiple calendars within Our Family Wizard. So if they do have different, like, not holiday time, the holidays were coming upon, but like, for example, if they have a different schedule in the summer, they can have a calendar that's a summer calendar, and they can see clearly what that is. They could also have, as you're saying, if they have another, let's say they have stepchild who's coming back and forth, they can have a separate calendar that shows the stepchild's schedule, so that everyone knows when all the children, for example, will be together in the same home, and they can see that clearly.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times, once you get the custody order put in place, life starts to change around everything, right? New people start coming into the family. How does Our Family Wizard help with these sensitive topics like that? New people coming into the family, changes that need to happen, and just the normal stuff you expect to see.
Yeah, I think going back to the beginning, part of the way that it helps is just knowing that everything is on the record. So people feel that they need a bit to, mind their P's and Q's, because people can see it. But there are also other ways. So we do have, for example, third-party accounts, and it really depends on the situation. It's going to depend on their agreement or order in terms of what kind of role like a new step parent might play. And if things are fairly amicable, they might have a third-party account where they don't get the same functionality as the co-parents. They can't change things and like that, but they can see the schedule, which can be helpful, because if they're going to be involved in picking up and dropping off and all that kinds of stuff, as blended families often are involved in, they are able to have a view of all the kids' schedules. And that can be really helpful too.
This is a lot of great information, and our listeners, they love hearing success stories. Could you maybe share one or two success stories of individuals using Our Family Wizard to help during the holidays, making a much smoother collaboration or transition and trying to get the children back and forth?
Yes, we've had multiple parents report to us that prior to using Our Family Wizard, there was just consistently chaos at the holiday time. And that then, since they started using Our Family Wizard, not only them, but the kids too, because some parents choose to set up a child account for the kids, which can really be a peace of mind for the kids too, because then they know they don't have to feel that they're stuck in between. So I've seen situations like that where a child felt stuck in between, and a parenting coordinator has told me that they really saw a difference when the child had a child account, and they can go and look themselves, and they don't need to ask mom or dad, who am I going to be with for Christmas this year? Why is the schedule this way? They can just go in and look at it themselves and not feel like, in some ways, I guess, not only torn in the middle, but like maybe that it's a sensitive subject for the parent. They might not want to bring it up to the parent because they feel badly. They sense that the other parent might be sad that they're not going to be with them on Christmas. They can just go and look at it themselves and see, this is what I'm doing for Thanksgiving. This is what I'm doing for Christmas. This is how my school break is going to go.
Yeah, you mentioned the other parent being sad for the holidays. I know in a lot of what we do, the holidays become a big fight whenever you're going through the litigation, because all of a sudden these traditions are no longer the way they were. how does it help with the spiking? I mean, you talked about putting a child on the account, but the other emotions that just come along during the holidays, and it gets really bad for the person who doesn't have the child for like the first year, right?
Yes. And there are some other tools within our Family Wizard that can help with that too, with some of the, like, depending on the situation and what they want. But some folks will feel better if they're able to see pictures and things like that. And there's a great tool on there within the journal where they can have moments. So they can show the other party what Christmas morning looks like. They can take a little video and put it there where the other party can see the child opening the presents. Some of the things that they really feel that they're missing out on. They can share those positive moments with the other party.
We always advise clients we want to keep our communication respectful, especially when tensions may arise either between the parents or certain situations happen with the kids. Uh, how do you recommend navigating through that? And I guess in more specifically, you mentioned earlier about the tone meter, which I think is a really cool feature. And I echo what Charles said. I wish that was around when I was really litigating, because my clients definitely could have benefited from that. But could you maybe walk us through what that looks like and how does it alert and what kind of suggestions does it offer?
Yeah, I have been so impressed. Again, Tone Meter's been around for a while, but with the add-on of the AI, I'm even more impressed because it works in such a great way to actually help people to learn to communicate better. I believe it has the potential to really help parties learn because now I type in a message, I write it. Not only am I given the specific sentence that the algorithm believes might be perceived in a negative way, but I am in the driver's seat where I decide, do I want to send this message anyway? I've just been told that it might be perceived as negative. Do I want to send it anyway? Or do I want to edit it myself? Or do I want to click on view suggestion and see what the computer will suggest for me? And the suggestions are really great because again, they're more cordial, but they're also more concise. But then at that point, again, they're in the driver's seat. Do I want to apply this suggestion and then click and send the message the way that it suggested for me? Do I want to go back and edit myself? Maybe I don't think I realize now maybe where I went wrong, but I want to edit it myself. Or do I want to ask it to generate another suggestion for me? So they're really interacting with it. It's not an automatic setting where you turn on the AI feature and it's going to rewrite all your messages for you and just send them. It really gives you a tool to learn how to communicate better. And that can only benefit the parties and the children moving forward. And again, heightened emotion and stress at holiday time for the person on the receiving end, it's nice too to be given a message that was,
Right.
even if it wasn't the party who came up with the idea, even if it was AI that came up with the idea, the person receiving that message is getting a more cordial message that's more to the point, and they don't have to have that added stress of receiving a message that's convoluted, long, and angry.
Yeah, I had a case once where the new significant other was writing all the messages to the other parent, and the other parent was complaining about it, saying, "Look, I know this isn't the other parent." And the judge was like, "But they're all nice and they get the point across. What's the problem?"
I mean, that is something to really consider because sometimes people say, oh, but if it's AI, it's not really them. But
Mhm.
if the person receiving the message is getting a nicer message and they're not having to deal with that stress, isn't that a good thing in the end? Because at the end of the day, really, especially, and here we're only talking about cases where kids are involved. When
Mhm.
kids are involved, at the end of the day, we want to make the conflict less because the studies show that that benefits children. So it benefits the children to have their co-parents communicating in a more cordial manner. And I would also argue, as I said before, that over time, I do think it can train them where eventually they don't need to be given as many suggestions because they start to realize there's a pattern, like these things that I have a tendency to do are perceived in a negative way. And again, they know that it can be seen by anyone. So they start to catch on. And at the end of the day, I think that just really benefits everyone.
It does, and I had to chuckle at being able to learn from the AI. I know that I have Grammarly, and it still tells me to change my tone on every email. I haven't learned yet. So
Well, I will say that we do get plenty of family law attorneys who say that they would like to have something like tone meter on their correspondence with opposing
Mhm.
counsel. So, we're all human and we all have the tendency to let emotions get the best of us at times, but this is a great tool to be able to work
Yeah.
on one of the most important relationships in your life, which is your co-parenting relationship, whether you like it or not, because you're both in charge of the child and their well-being.
And you talk about the tone and the words that you say being one way to get through tricky situations. What are other approaches that you've seen that have really helped to get through tricky situations?
Putting less communication sometimes is better. So not always having to have messages. So we really encourage folks like use the other tools. You don't need to send a message about the holiday party at school. You can just put the event on the calendar. The other person sees it. You can just leave some of that out. You don't have to do that. Same thing with, if you need to make a change to schedule, you don't have to have a long message about it. You can just put in the request for the time, and it only has a little short window for why the request is being made. There are so many tools within Our Family Wizard, so you don't have to always use the messaging. The messaging is there and it's important and it's tracked and documented and all that, but you don't have to do that. Again, when an expense comes along, there's a holiday party at school and you're donating, like just put it in the expense log, seek reimbursement, get paid. You don't need to have all these messages going back and forth, because while we have the tools within the messaging, it's documented, there's the AI available, we've got all these tools. Still, in all, for a lot of folks, a little bit less in terms of open-ended communication is better. So there's ways to communicate without actually sending messages, putting in an expense log, putting the health insurance card in the info bank, like all these things that can just be put there. Put the child's report card in the info bank. You don't have to have a back and forth about that.
That's wonderful. I mean, the less interactions, sometimes probably the better. And
Yep.
so this gets them in the habit of that too. There's so many wonderful features already, but is there anything that's maybe on the horizon as far as that Our Family Wizard is looking into to adding, or something that is going to be added soon?
Yeah, we're always looking and seeking feedback from parents and professionals to improve the platform and to keep things in line with how folks are living their lives. So we do have things in the works. One that's already in the works is connected calendar, so that they would be able to import calendars that they use in other areas of their life directly into their OFW calendar. So it'll be all integrated there. And then, of course, the things that they import from other calendars that have nothing to do with the co-parent would be marked as private, and the other co-parent wouldn't see those, but they'd be able to see everything in one calendar. And that's in a beta project right now that some parents are testing out. And then we also have on the horizon all kinds of AI ideas. We're not sure exactly which will come first, but one that's already being worked on and is well in the works is having to do with the calendar, where it's going to make it easier for parents, because we all get email, all of us who have kids anyways, we get emails all the time about different events going on, sports practices, all these things like that. They're going to be able to take that email, just forward it to OFW, and OFW will create a calendar event for them. So we've got all kinds of stuff in the works that is really, keeping in line with the way people are living their lives now, and always trying to move parties forward in a better way.
Danielle, I want to thank you for taking time to join us again and talk about this platform. It's one that I know when I was practicing, we used all the time. But what's one place that our listeners can go to learn more about this?
They can go to OurFamilyWizard.com. Our website has a wealth of information. It's not only about the platform. We've got tons of articles and other things about co-parenting, about navigating family law situations. So OurFamilyWizard.com is a great website to visit, and you'll have a lot of information there, tips and tricks on using Our Family Wizard, and again, articles and such.
Well, thank you very much. And I hope our listeners like this episode. I always like anytime we can talk about better communication. So I was very interested in it, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.